Hi, I'm Daz. I'm the producer of The Drift, and this weekend has been a sort of a double whammy in a positive way. The first one is that we have built this set in 2 days, which is really, really brilliant. And the other thing is, it's our birthday, kind of. It's a year today that the first Drift diary went out. So technically a year, I suppose, the project has been running. In theory, yes, a few bits before, but this was the 26th of August was the day. So happy birthday, us! Yay, 1 year. So yeah, this weekend building the set. It's been a really good weekend because two things. One is we achieved the aim, which is always brilliant within the time frame. We also made it better than I was hoping for. So always exceeding my expectations. A team, who just know what they're doing now, and that's a really good thing. And it's evidence that through all the months, the past 12 months of set building and filming and all that we're able now, as proven, to basically just come in with a relatively sort of simple sketch of what we want to do, and then with 4 or 5 people build this. 4 or 5 skilled people, and that's certainly true. They already had some skills before they came. Andy, for example, set builder. Scott with his artistic flair, but everybody in the team is contributing and has developed their skills throughout. So guys like Rob, who plays Mortimer in the movie, he started out working with us for a few years, doing bits and bobs on cinders and stuff like that, and now just comes up with his own tools, with his own stuff, and just gets on with it, and that's through the last sort of 12 months in particular, which is brilliant, brilliant for him, brilliant for us, so very, very helpful. On the other side of the house, on the post-production side, the stage we're at now is where I've sort of divided all the scenes now into their beats, so sort of the 10-minute beats each, and that's gone out to the visual effects team. It's also gone out to the score guys, the guys who are sort of helping develop the score, about 3 or 4 of those, sort of looking at it, getting influences and ideas and things, and also to our sort of documentarians, a couple of guys working out actually sort of documentaries on the whole production process. So they're all getting to see that. And the idea now is, without sounding sort of too big-headed, is to allow the edit to mature. The idea now is that I'm going to kind of sort of step back from actually editing for about 3 or 4 weeks, but I'm going to still keep watching the film and write notes. And the idea is that as I watch it and notice more and more things, and as more of the team notice more and more things, that we can then sort of make those changes later. But rather than perhaps sort of do lots of drip feeding changes, we do quite a lot of changes in a relatively short period of time. Now, that's not to say that even after that stage we won't go back and edit more, because we will, for 2 reasons. One is that we won't have thought of everything, and secondly, there's sort of a cause and effect. So by making all those changes, there'll be other things that will just come up by virtue of those changes. So it's still an evolving process, but it allows everyone to have an input into the edit that's in the post-production team. So that's taking things forward quite nicely. Also, visual effects now is sort of championing ahead, and what's happening is that Helen is creating lots of visual effect files for those edits. For each of the scenes as a project file, or group of scenes as a project file, and if I go in and start changing those edits, then they won't tally up with what Helen's doing with the edit, with the visual effects. So I kind of have to sort of step back anyway until she's done that scene. I could go and edit afterwards, but I'm just going to sort of sit back and wait till the whole thing's done, and then say look at it later. The other thing I'm also looking at now on the sound side is sound effects. So I'm going through each scene and sort of logging every single effect that we need. So it could be anything from the rumbling of a starship to the noise of a drill, anything. Every sound you hear needs to be included. Some of it you hear for real because it's already been recorded, like the dialogue, or most of that anyway. Other things you won't hear, or you can't hear, even though you ought to be able to. So, for example, typing on a keyboard, it happens quite a bit in the film. you can't hear very clearly because the microphone is aimed at the dubbing, the voice, the dialogue. So you might have to then put in what's called Foley, where we get a keyboard and we'll sort of type literally as the person's typing on the screen. We'll type at the same time and then add that in later. There's other sort of stock sound effects as well that we can sort of look into as well. But that there are copyright issues and things like that. So the idea is to put those in like a temp track and then develop our own. That's the intention. And the other thing, of course, is actually filming on this because this is a pick-up scene. It's a scene that we weren't able to shoot during principal photography, so we've had to build it now. But having said that, there are some advantages. I mean, it's taken us a weekend, which, to be honest, isn't that long. 2 days of set building with all the materials here that we kept from principal photography. So we were already thinking ahead. So it hasn't actually cost us much money. We had to buy a few bits of hardboard, but overall, it's not cost us anything really. So we now need to prepare for that as well. So I need to start storyboarding and figuring out what's going to happen. The actual scene itself in the movie is probably only about 20 seconds, if that. So I think, to be honest, for 6 months of set building for an hour and a half, to have 1.5 days worth of set building for 15 seconds is probably about right. But it's great. And the other thing, of course, is by having the luxury of having had some time off and some time away and having watched the film quite a few times, we've been able to sort of develop this set a lot more than we might have done had we tried to get it shot in the time that we had on principal photography. We were way behind in some areas there, and I think we would have compromised. And now, having had that breathing space, we've actually been able to produce a set that I think is pretty excellent with all the bits and bobs that we've kept. So I'm really pleased. And that's about it. So you've probably seen the little box in there with all the Drift diaries over the last 12 months, so you can watch. Of course, go back to the time. Apparently, there's about 12 and a half hours worth of diaries over the last year. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But I think it's safe to say that I've pretty much recorded everything I can think of during that time. It's been really good to do that, and I look forward to continue to do that. Perhaps not as frequently now in post-production as we would have been as frequent as they are during, say, principal photography. But I think it's a great record. A bit of repetition here and there, but on the whole, it's a great way of recording the whole journey. So I think they've been of some value, certainly to me. And just sometimes to look at some of the earlier diaries to see how we started with nothing and to have built what we've built. I just wonder how we did it, to be honest, in some ways. Not because I ever doubted the abilities of my team, but just the mammoth size of the task and the time frame that we give ourselves. I mean, we basically shot a whole movie, a 2-hour film in 12 days, and that's just ridiculous. As I've said before, it's the only way you can do it when you're not paying people and you've only got weekends, and with an enormous amount of logistics and set rearrangement and stuff, we would have just died of exhaustion, I think, if we'd have dragged it out any further. There's only so much you can do for free. So I think that has been an extremely ambitious task, and the diaries hopefully will show that visually as well as sort of my thoughts and reflections on how things went. So all good. Next thing now is to get ready for shooting here.